Good morning, everyone. I'm not going to use the microphone. I think I'm loud enough. And then I can harass my students here. Mariah and Tommy and Aaron and Michelle from McDaniel. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming, and thanks for the invitation. Thanks a lot for organizing that, everyone, and for all the sponsors and co-sponsors. And I'm really very happy to see a lot of students from Silver Oak Academy in the back, and here from McDaniel College as well, because very often when I offer, when I go to churches or centers, very often the people who come, they have, quite a few years in their lives behind them, and very experienced, and they know a lot about the world, but the young, unfortunately, they don't have the time, and they're in school. Yeah. So I'm going to give a short introduction about Islam, and the whole event is in the memory of an honor and memory of Ira and Ira Zepp, and probably many of you, if not all of you, know who they are, who they were, and they're still with us. You know, their spirit is everywhere, in this room, everywhere. Because without them, especially without Ira and his work in the community, I don't think we'll have anything like this in Carroll County. We need people like Ira. We don't have enough of them. And I think that Ira is very pleased now. He's in a better place than our here. And he's, I'm sure, looking down at us and saying, we made it, and Carroll County made it. And I agree with Pam and Pat that Carroll County is very diverse, you know. We have a lot of wonderful things, you know. I remember the first time I was here, I felt like an alien. I said, whoa, I'm the only Muslim in Carroll County. Absolutely was not true, because I was ignorant and I didn't know that there were others. Yeah, and nowadays we have a good, thriving community. Yeah. So I'll go through this a little bit as fast as I can. Some of you know some of the things I'm talking about here, and some maybe not. There are two short videos, food for thought. So hopefully we'll be able to watch both of them and you know, give you maybe some time, maybe 5 to 10 minutes for questions, because we have also a panel discussion, and they can pick up some of the questions that you have. Yeah, can we dim the lights in the front there, please? Yeah, so this way they can see, and they don't have to see me; they can hear me. That's, you know. Well, if you have never seen Ira, you didn't know him. That's Ira. That's a wonderful picture. That's his personality, and. My friends, the Perkins, they gave me, when I was teaching Carroll Community College, a picture of Ira that they purchased from Pam she takes so many pictures, and it's hanging in my kitchen. I don't have pictures of my mom and dad or grandparents. None. This is the only picture for anyone. And every morning when I see him, I don't say it, but I feel it. Good morning, Ira. And he was a great mentor, like to many, many other people, a friend, a companion, and above all, you know, I have also Jewish and Hindu and Buddhist friends and brothers, but he was, for me, a real dear Christian friend and brother. We did a lot of things together, and so we miss him dearly, but I think his spirit is with us, and that will continue to be with us for a long time. Yeah. These are his 10 golden rules of dialogue. These are not mine. So if you don't like one of them, you have to go to church or to the synagogue and pray and try to talk to Ira. Tell him I have problems with your rules. Yeah. So I'm not going to read all of them, but highlight a few of them. And the first one is the most important one. Questions. They're so important. You will never like, maybe you will not like my answer, but I love your question. Yeah, that means you're thinking about the topic. Yeah. You know, I will never expect something from someone that I don't expect from myself. Okay? So I don't expect someone to be perfect if I'm not perfect. I don't expect someone to wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock and come here if I cannot do it myself. Yeah, that's very important to keep that in mind. And the third one is really very crucial for what we're doing today. When we compare any religion, any culture, any group, we should not compare the best with the worst and the worst with the best. Compare the best with the best. Our Bill of Rights with the best of that other culture. Our discipline with the best of that other culture. You know, all we need to do is just think about what's happening in Baltimore. Everyone is just talking about the worst. What about the best there? Nobody's thinking about that. Nobody's talking about that. Yeah. So we have to keep that in mind. We have to distinguish between culture and religion. And Ira used to tell that story, and I tell it very fast. In the college, there's a lot of bakers, Baker Chapel, little one, the big one. And the Baker family, it was a United Methodist family. But the matriarch was not that religious. But one day she found Jesus, and she said she went home, and then she threw all the booze away. You know, the United Methodists, many of them, they don't booze. Ira didn't booze much. You know, he was not a big boozer, yeah. Anyway, she went home, she threw the booze away, all of it, and probably a lot of money, you know, probably it was, you know, old stuff. But she kept her slaves. So her religion forbade her to booze, but the culture of the time allowed her to have slaves. So whatever we look at, whatever is in the Muslim world, ask yourself, has something to do with the religion, or is it a cultural thing? And probably we will talk about that. You will talk about that later when it comes to the question of women and the headdress, if you want, and all of these things. But in a lot of things, very often, it really has nothing to do with the religion. People think it's part of the religion, but it's not. Yeah, you know. Yeah, if you think you have the truth, you will never know the truth when it comes. And there's a story behind that, but that's for another time. Yeah. So, and I want to see the error in my truth and the truth in your error. And this is one of his most important golden rules. You know, when he will talk to people, and he will not try to find an error in their truth. No, he will try to find a truth, something factual, something good in what the people are saying, even if he disagrees with that. So, the Rabbi Jacob Neusner, a very famous rabbi and philosopher, if you want. I really like that quote. The more I get to know you, the more of myself I see in you, and less strange you are to me. This is the golden rule of intercultural interaction with people. Intercultural, interracial, interreligious, interfaith, whatever that is. Yeah. And I like the last one. If you never travel, you know, you think your mom is the best and only cook. Well, or your dad. In this case, it's an African proverb. And that's true. We have to travel. We cannot stay in the water like a fish, because fish will never discover the world if it stays in the water. But as soon as the fish gets out of the water, of course, dies, yeah. But we have to travel, yeah. We have to see the world. We have really to encounter. And traveling, it doesn't mean going abroad, but encounter the other, whoever that other is. You know, whoever that is. And this is the series of these events. It's wonderful because this is the idea behind that. Let the other speak for themselves. Present themselves from within, and open that up for the people. Okay, questions unite. The first one. So think about questions you have that maybe I will answer them, maybe I will not. You know, I don't have time in an hour to talk about a religion that has been there for 1,400 years, and it's one of the major world religions. It's difficult. You know, even a seminar, even a whole semester is not enough. A whole life is not enough to talk about Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism or Buddhism, whatever religion we are talking about. Yeah, think about that. What questions you have? Yeah. This is very fast. You have these things in your handouts. Yeah, the maps, the dark areas, the majority Muslim populations, and the lighter it's the less Muslims are there. There's another one here, and if you look at Indonesia. Indonesia is actually the largest population-wise Muslim country on earth. Not Egypt, not Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I'm number 5 or 6, yeah. And the dark areas, you see the dark areas, this is mainly Shiite. There are Sunnis and Shiites. You hear about them in the news probably. Only bad stuff instead of the good stuff. And so we have the majority Shiites in Iran, in Iraq, and now probably big in the news in Yemen. Yemen, it's a different kinds of Shiite groups. So we call them the 5, the 7, and the 12. They believe in 5 imams and 12 and 7 imams. So, and then, of course, in Afghanistan, they have been persecuted by the Taliban for a long, long time. Yeah, the Hazaris. Yeah. So that's another map. And again, Indonesia. In India, there are more Muslims in India than any Arab country. A lot of people think Muslims are only in the Arab world. That's a misconception, yeah. Here's another one, another example where, so you can see where the dark areas are Shiite and then the rest, you know, here in Syria and Lebanon and Turkey. Yeah. Well, if there's a question about that, I can talk about it later. Yeah. Another map is the Middle East. So let's not confuse the Muslim world with the Middle East. The Middle East consists of many countries. The Middle East is a political term that was coined by the British. There's no word like this in Arabic. Absolutely not. You know, that was invented later, the Middle East. Middle East of what? Middle of what? Wow. Anyway, so it was coined by the British, but in the Middle East we have Iran, Turkey, and Israel, that they are not Arab countries. The rest are Arab countries. But we have also North Africa, the Arab world, and the Middle East. So these three terms, the Muslim world, the Middle East, North Africa, and the Arab world. So we have to really think about, you know, separating that, because they are political entities, they are language entities, and then religion. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. This is the pre-Islamic Arabia, if you want, mainly the peninsula, what we nowadays know as Saudi Arabia, and the different Emirates here, Yemen and Oman, Qatar, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Iraq. All of these countries didn't exist until recently, you know. But Saudi Arabia have been there, or the Arabian Peninsula has been there for a long period of time, yeah. And it was there when we had the Byzantine Empire and the Sassanid Empire in Persia, or the Persian Empire. So the two empires fighting each other before Islam started in the 7th century. Yeah. So Arabia was not part of the Byzantine Empire or the Persian Empire. It was by itself, because it's desert. The Rub al-Khali is the empty quarters where they are life there, but nobody would like to go and invade that, because, you know, it's a lost cause. You know, now everyone wants to invade because of oil, but at that time nobody was interested in that. The only area where was inhabited, these areas on the coast, and this is where the trips, the winter and the summer trips, took place, the trade routes, you know, and came all the way from, you know, from India with ship, and then all the way up and down. Yeah, these are the only fertile, still the fertile areas. So what is Islam? Our topic is Islam. What does the word Islam mean? Where is it coming from? You know, Islam means nothing else than commitment. You commit yourself to a higher cause. You commit yourself to good deeds. You commit yourself to being a good neighbor, to serve God in the best way. It's not only praying and fasting and going to the pilgrimage and giving money to the poor. That is the practical thing. This is where you can show your faith. Islam means commitment. You commit yourself to something. And whatever that is, it is similar to the other religion. We'll look at that in a second. Yeah. Let me go here to the side, and then everyone can see that. Yeah, and I can speak loud. Yeah. So it is very important that we have really to look at Islam like any other religion. You have the practical part that you have to do, and then the belief system, things you believe in. Okay, so we have, and in Islam it's very, very important that the practical part is so important. You have to show you believe. You have to give charity. You have to be nice. You have to be gracious. You have to be helpful, helping other people. That's so crucial in the Quran. You have to be respectful of your elders, of your mom and father. First, you fear God, or you respect God, and then your mom and dad. Not the Prophet. The Prophet comes in third position. A lot of people think Muhammad is divine in Islam. Muhammad is not divine. So God, then your parents, and then the prophets in plural. Yeah. So there's absolutely no discrimination in Islam according to the Muslim traditions and the Muslim, if you want, rules. People are different, but people do discriminate. People do have servants and had, if you want, slaves, but Islam forbids that. Just an example. So think about religion and culture, and that we will look into that in a second a little bit more. That's a word of contention. A lot of people have put so much meaning into that word, and there are so many misconceptions about that word. Folks, that word means only one thing. It means the one God. in Arabic. That's the Arabic word, the only word in Arabic that doesn't have a plural. Every single word in Arabic has a dual, two, or plural, more than two. This is the only word in Arabic, in the Arabic language. It's a huge language. Doesn't have a plural. It's unique word because God is unique. And it means nothing else than al. You know, al is like in Spanish. If you know Spanish, well, this is not pointing. It is pointing, but it's fine. Al and ilah. Ilah is God, the one God. There's word for gods, smaller, lowercase, yeah, and plural of that. But with this word, there's absolute no plural. That's very crucial to keep that in mind. That's the uniqueness of that word, and existed before Islam, by the way. The word Allah existed before Islam. Like the father of Prophet Muhammad, his name is Abdullah, the servant of Allah. But the issue with Islam, with Allah before Islam, was Allah was a supreme God who had other gods below him, and he had even 3 daughters who were goddesses. Islam came and eliminated all of this because it went back to the roots, Christian and Jewish roots. There can be only one God, a supreme God. So let's keep that in mind whenever you hear that. It's not, you know, it is, Muslims and Arabs use it all the time. You know, that is, I tell my students very often, even not the students who study Arabic, I say, yalla, yalla. Yalla, that meant, let's go. Yalla, let's go with God. This is what it means. You know, and you use it all the time in all different kinds of things, yeah. So the Muslim religion, the sources of the Muslim religion are 2 books, were actually mainly one book, the Quran. I don't think I brought with me. The Quran, but you will see images of that, is the most important thing in Islam. You take it away, there will be no Islam. Like in Christianity, take Jesus away, there will be no Jesus, no Christianity. It's called Christianity, Christ. The Bible is important, but not as important as Jesus. So in Islam, it's the other way around. Quran is the most important thing. That's the reason why Muslims react really furiously when someone tries to burn the Quran or flush it through the toilet, whatever these crazy people try to do, you know. So the Quran is the most important. The second one is the Hadith. It's the saying and the deeds of Prophet Muhammad. So the Prophet is very important in Islam, like all prophets. Not only Muhammad, Moses and David and Jesus and Jacob and you name it. John the Baptist is a prophet according to Islam. All of these are very, very important. But the Quran is the most important thing in Islam. So the people of the book, Christians and Jews and Zoroastrians, and to a certain degree maybe the Hindus and Buddhists. I had a teacher in high school who was a scholar. He is a big scholar, and he believes that the books of the Hindus and the Buddhist thinking have also some commonality with the monotheistic religions. Yeah. So, but that's a different topic. Yeah. So, Ahl al-Kitab, let me go back. The people of the books, Ahl al-Kitab of the book, mainly are the Jews and the Christians, because we don't have any books from the Zoroastrians or, well, the Hindus, they have one, but not the other ones. Yeah. So the Torah and the Bible, they are considered to be coming from the same source, and that is a book, a huge book with God. They're all coming from the same source. Yeah. This is an image from the Quran. It's beautiful, not only calligraphy, it's language, and it has to be read aloud or recited. This is what the meaning of the Quran, the recitation. So you recite it, and really you have to recite it loud. And imams must, those who lead the prayers, must know the Quran by heart. We have members of our community with 10, 11, 12 years old who are not native speakers of Arabic, know the Quran by heart. They studied that. Michelle, did you do that? No. Who?
I'm actually learning now.
You're doing that? Yeah.
Right now.
But we have a couple, like Dr. Sayyid's daughter, she learned that. She learned it, and they called Hafiz, those who learn the Quran by heart. It's very easy to do that. The Arabic language is so beautiful that it's really easy to learn that by heart. But as the prayer, the language of prayer in the mosque must be Arabic. You can do the sermon in English and Arabic, but the prayer itself, like in Jewish faith, in Hebrew, you cannot go to the synagogue and pray in English or Latin or German, whatever the language. No, no, no. It must be Hebrew. You cannot quote the Torah in any other language except Hebrew. Okay, the same thing in Arabic, yeah. In Islam with Arabic. So it means the recitation, the Quran, so that has to be recited. Very often I tell my Muslim brothers and friends who have issues with who criticize Christianity and then with they're painting everything with a bad way without distinguishing between culture and religion, with distinction between policies and people. And I tell them, you know what? You need to think about this. Without a Christian king, maybe Islam would have not made it. Now, I'm not very, very, very religious. Probably a very religious Muslim will not say that because they believe that's the will of God. The will of God will happen. But without the help of a Christian king, it would have been very, very, very difficult for the Muslims. And you will see it in a second. This is a short a passage from a movie called The Message. And so, if it was not up to this just king who has been mentioned by Muhammad, and Muslims believe in that story very well, and it's a real story, it's not like a legend or something that was invented, it would have been very, very difficult for the Muslim community to survive in Mecca because they were persecuted really. And it was a small community, and there were 75 families, and you can see there were only men, both Christians and the others, but women at that time, they had to be separated, even at that time. And the 75 families were allowed to stay there until, the situation in Mecca. Muhammad left Mecca after that and went to Medina, where he was welcomed, because Medina was like a multicultural city. At that time, it was called Yathrib. And there were Jews and Christians and others there, and they were fighting among each other, and then they invited Muhammad to come and mediate between them, and he did, and then they allowed him to establish the first Muslim community. So it is very important to keep this in mind. Okay, this is a Hollywood movie. We don't have that many very good Hollywood movies that put Islam in a normal, I would not say positive, just normal way, but it was made by the director is an Egyptian. And the actor who playing Amr, the guy from Mecca, actually he converted after this to Islam and became a very, 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 very famous Muslim leader, and very just. Changed completely. It is anyway. So what do Muslims believe in? He mentioned a few of these things, but let's go through this very, very fast. Tawheed is the most important thing, the oneness of God, the monotheism. Yeah. So that is the very important one. There are a lot of sins that you can commit. The one sin that God will not, forgive is this one. You can repent all the way before you die, then it's fine. But this is very, very important that God is one. Yeah. And again, the word for God in Arabic is Allah. Muslims, they have to use it in their prayer and in the daily life, but it's the same word. Like in Jews, they use different names for God. Called the name, the Shem, and Elohim. God, and then Yahweh, and then you name it. Yeah, they are different names, but the same thing. Yeah, it's very important to keep this in mind. That and by the way, Mary, the story of Mary, actually, that's very important. Mary, according to Muslims, it's really, she was a Muslim before she became a Christian. Why? Abraham was a Muslim before he became the father of all three religions. Why? Think about the word Islam. You submit yourself to the will of God. Mary did not tell Gabriel, get out of here, I'm not going to get pregnant. No one touch me, I'm not going to do it. She submitted her will to the will of God. Same thing with Abraham. Abraham was ordered to slaughter his son, to sacrifice his son. How many of you are willing to sacrifice their son or daughter? Please, raise your hand if you're willing. Why not? If you have a dream, or you wake up in the morning, oh, God ordained me to sacrifice my son or my daughter, would you do that? I don't know anyone who would do that. But Abraham was willing to do it because he believed in the one God, and he submitted his will to the will of God because he believed in that. And that is Islam. This is what a Muslim is. You submit your will to the will of God. Everything else is like, you put perfume and you put, all different kind of jewelry. That's all jewelry. That's all, clothing. The essence is what's inside you. You submit your will to the will of God. And actually, Ira, and we'll get to that maybe later, Ira and I, when we used to give these talks, and he will say to everyone, folks, you're all doing jihad. And you guys are doing jihad as well now. You know what jihad is? It's not holy war. That word doesn't exist. These two words that don't exist in the Quran. I always tell my students, I'll give you $10,000 that I don't have, but I'll give them $10,000. If you read the Quran from A to Z, find these two words, holy war in Arabic, you will not find them. Jihad does not mean that. Jihad means something else. Jihad to struggle, to strive to do the best. So what you're doing here is, for me, is jihad, because you woke up early in the morning. You're coming here to listen to this professor from McDaniel about a topic. You could be somewhere in a cafe and having a nice time listening to music, or walking in the park with your dog, or playing with your cat. I don't know, with your grandchildren, whatever that is. But you are here, and you're committing yourself to this. And this is one kind of jihad, because you're doing, something good. Yeah, and this is what the idea behind that. Yeah. Similar to a lot of different religions, and especially Christianity and Judaism. So I'll focus only Christianity and Judaism because the similarities are huge. The creation, there's creation, there's no evolution. And it's Muslims must believe that Muhammad is a messenger of God, or the messenger, the last messenger, with a message, with a divine message. That's a thing. Could be other people coming after Muhammad, like Nabis and others, but not with a divine message. The Quran is the last revelation that came from God, according to Muslims. Yeah, it is. If you know any Baha'is believe in something else, that there's another messenger coming after Muhammad, Baha'u'llah. So, but according to Muslims, is the final revelation. Yeah, completing the other two. Yeah. Believing in angels and day of judgment, paradise and hell, but Muslims don't believe in the original sin. We are all born good, and we can only be judged according to our actions. The only way you save yourself is by being a good person, by following all of the rules. There are a lot of things God will forgive. You don't fast, you don't pray, you don't go to the Hajj. These are things that God will forgive. One thing God will not forgive is believing in more than one God, the tawheed, the shirk, what we call in Arabic shirk. Yeah. So just keep a couple of these in mind. Believing in the previous prophets. Muslims, you will never find a Muslim, not even the most atheist in Islam, in Muslim countries, who will try to denigrate any one of the prophets, no matter what. They don't hide behind freedom of speech. No, they don't. They don't need to, because we will never denigrate any one of these prophets. And Mary, I didn't mention Mary there, but Mary, one woman is one chapter in the Quran called Mary. There's no other woman in the Quran that has a chapter. Not even other Muslim women have it. But Mary has a chapter in the Quran all by herself. So even Mary, when devout Muslims mention the names of Abraham, Moses, Jesus, David, Jacob, Sarah, Mary, always you add to it, may peace and blessing be upon her, him, or them. All the time. When I take students to the Islamic Center, the person who talks to us, all the time, when he mentions one of these, all the time he adds that. And of course, the same thing with the Prophet Muhammad, all these. It is absolutely a lot of respect for that. And again, maybe because there's not much freedom of speech in a lot of countries, but I believe if we had 100% freedom of speech like in Tunisia and so on, artists, journalists, writers, they will not try to do that. They will not try to put any one of these in a bad way, make fun of them. That what happened to Jesus here with the movies, all these movies, Jesus Superstar and all, that will not happen in Muslim countries. I'm not saying is it better or good or bad. No, I'm just giving you the facts, the way it is. Yeah. The people of the books of the book, the Jews, the Christians, the Zoroastrian, and I threw in the Hindus and Buddhists because we have Muslim scholars who come from these areas that believe that they could be considered the people of the book. Yeah. For many, many centuries, Islam and Hinduism walked hand in hand. There were really absolutely not many tensions for many, many centuries. The tensions are more political now, they are new. Yeah. Look at the shared beliefs. I'm not going through all of them. Christianity and Judaism and Islam, a lot of shared beliefs. And then you have them in your handout. You can look at them later on. Yeah. It's incredible. The Ten Commandments, the story of Adam and Eve. The only difference between the story of Adam and Eve that God created both Adam and Eve from one soul, not two. Eve was not created from the side of Adam. No, they both were created because they're equal from one soul. And that soul is from God. We're all created in the image of God, according to Islam. Okay, so that I don't need to repeat that all the time, but this is what I mean. Yeah. More shared beliefs. Yeah, of course I can show you some differences. And the guy in the movie mentioned that, but the shared beliefs are incredible. This is just an excerpt of that. The total submission to the will of God, that is really, important. The Muslim scholars, they solve the problem with the Christian king, that God really wanted the Muslims to go to Abyssinia. That was his will. That was all ordained. Yeah. So the clash of good and evil also plays an important role. Yeah. This is the Apostles' Creed, the Christian Apostles' Creed. Most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with that. Now look at the Muslim one and tell me what's the difference in a second. This is that one, you know that. This is the Muslim one. And usually I have them on top of each other. I'll take just the other one out and leave. I put them in red, but this time I don't know. I didn't do it. I have other PowerPoint where they're on top of each other, and you'll see. So next time someone will tell you Islam is a religion from the devil or whatever people think, a different kind of religion, just give them this. Yeah, and in a second he'll show you something else. The pillars of Islam. These are the practical things that Muslims have to show. That you have to show that how your belief system. These are what we call pillars, and you have to declare your faith. You have to pray 5 times a day. And now, do all Muslims pray 5 times a day? No. Do all Muslims pray the same way? With full conviction and full meditation and with one with God? No, because we're humans. But these are the rules. Muslims should pray 5 times a day. Friday prayers are men are obligated to go to Friday prayers if they can. If they have work or they're sick, they don't. Moment they are not. They don't have to. They can if they want, but they don't have to. So fasting, Ramadan is coming up in June, July. Every year, come 10 days earlier. From sunrise to sunset, no food, no drink, no nothing. No kissing, by the way. If you are married, no kissing. That will not be allowed. But a lot of people tell me, well, can I drink water? No. But how about juice? No. Nothing. From sunrise to sunset, yeah. And it is a time for reflection, a time to really think about those who don't have enough. This is the way it's supposed to be. And in the evening, you indulge in nice food. You cook together. And actually, in Ramadan, I lose weight. I don't know how people can gain weight. I really lose weight, yeah. Not much, but I lose weight, yeah. Giving to the poor, that's so crucial. 2.5% of your savings, whatever you have at the end of the year, you have to give to the poor. You have to seek the poor. You have to go and look for them. So actually Muslims are very, very generous when it comes to that. Look, I remember vividly, I come from a very poor family, but whatever my dad had at the end of the year, extra, he would not spend on us. He will go and give it to a poor family. And we knew which family, because nobody is supposed to know, but we knew which family that was. And he will do that. And Muslims still do it. 2.5% of your wealth, whatever you have at the end of the extra that you don't need, that you're putting aside. Okay? Of course, you're paying your tuition, car payments, the house and all that's different. But if you're saving like $1,000 at the end of the year, $25. But I know for sure that people do more than that. Now, if you don't have any immediate people in your family and your neighborhood who are poor, you go to the next, and if you have none in your community, you give it to a charity. Charity can do that on your behalf. The pilgrimage once in a lifetime, if you went to the events that about the sacred journeys, there was one episode about Hajj. I believe the Interfaith Club showed it 2 months ago. Unfortunately, I was not able to be there. And it's a life-changing experience, yeah. But let me show you fast. The declaration, declaring there's only one God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. The prayer, the different kinds of prayer. It's a good exercise. It is a good exercise. 5 times a day. So many. Sometimes it takes 10 minutes to do that. 3 to 10 probably. Yeah. Depends on the time of the day. Getting up early in the morning, like 4:30 in the morning, and doing that. That's a jihad. You're striving to be good. That is what actually the meaning of jihad. This is supposed to be not the violent one, not the military one. Yeah. That's a call for prayer that you hear 5 times a day. So you hear that in Muslim countries 5 times a day, and very often I was with students one time in Cairo, and we're having dinner on top of the mountain, and then suddenly the students stopped eating, and they stopped talking, and I say, what's wrong with you? What is this? What is going on? We have this cacophony of cars and people and so on, and suddenly one call for prayer, 2, 5, hundreds in Cairo. Cairo is a huge city. And they fill the skies. And the students said, what is that? I said, oh, that's a call for prayer. For me, it was just a normality. But for them, it was something special. So what it says, it's God is great, God is great. There's no God but God. And come to prayer, come to salvation. And this is, Muslims, we don't do bells like Christianity or the shofar in Judaism or in other religions, but the human voice. Yeah, human voice. So that's a call for prayer. Fasting, we talked about that. Ramadan. When you meet some Muslim, please don't wish them happy Ramadan. It's not a holiday. It's a fasting. It's good. Wish them a blessed Ramadan. Blessed Ramadan, Mubarak, but not happy Ramadan. The happy thing is after Ramadan. It is. So it is really a very, very, very special month. And actually, it's supposed to be a month of seclusion, generosity, charity. All hostilities are supposed to stop. If there are any wars or anything, they have to stop. People should try to solve their problems. But we are humans. Muslims are humans like all other humans. Did World War II and World War I stop during Christmas? One time in World War I, there was a pause in World War I, yeah. And in the French army, there were Algerian Muslims. They didn't know anything about that this is the time for Christmas, and they didn't stop the fighting. And they were told, hey, stop, that's a holiday. We are not going to fight today. We will fight tomorrow. We will kill each other tomorrow. Let's celebrate today. This is what some Muslims are supposed to do, but they don't, because they're humans with faults, with problems, with issues. But the Quran tells us, or the Islam tells us, we should try to solve all of our issues, whether within the family. And very, very many times, when family fight, and family fights, they're everywhere, they come together during the month of Ramadan and they solve their problems. Yeah. Again, giving to the poor, we mentioned that the pilgrimage is a life-changing experience. Malcolm X, he was very radical. He hated everything white, everyone white. When he went to Mecca and came back, that changed his life. He became a changed person, and he became a mainstream Muslim. Changed completely because he saw people who were white. He said in his autobiography, white and yellow and brown and all shades, rich and poor. Well, he couldn't tell whether rich and poor because they all looked the same. Praying together, hugging him and doing all of this. And I said, whoa, what's happening? And there are white guys there who are nice. White people who are nice to me. What's going on? So not all whites are bad. So that changed his life, yeah. Muslim holidays, there are only 2. Again, Ramadan is not a holiday. The day after Ramadan is a holiday, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. So the Postal Service had one time Well, it still has it. Eid greetings. There were some very conservative people in this country who didn't like it, because it was after 9/11, and they said, "Wow, that's a slap in the face of all the people who died." And the Postal Service, hey, Muslims died also 9/11. They were all Americans, you know. So and they said it was time to do it, and they did it, and you know, it's still available. Yeah. Yeah, this, and I have two more slides, and then open up. Maybe I'll finish earlier, I hope. This is really crucial. A lot of people don't know anything about this. Nowadays, the Muslim world going through the dark ages, especially the Arab world, but also parts of the Muslim world. We are going through the dark ages, like the Europeans did. How many wars did the Europeans have to go through? Think about the 30 years war. How long did it last, the 30 years war? I asked my students, of course, 30 years. Christians against Christians, Catholics against Protestants in Europe. 75% of parts of Germany and nowadays Czech Republic were destroyed. Brother against brother, father against son. World War I, World War II, the 7 Years' War, the French-Russian War, and you name it. And we had the Enlightenment there, and we had the Renaissance there, and then we had philosophers and music, and Mozart and Beethoven and Chopin and Vivaldi, and you name it. And then World War I, World War II, and the Holocaust. So Muslims going through similar things nowadays, unfortunately. We didn't learn from the past of the others. The Europeans did learn. Look at Europe, America, we are a young country, but we did learn from the past. Not all the time, but we did. And unfortunately, especially the Arab world, they're going through the dark ages, because groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda and so on, what they are trying to do, they're trying to bring the dark ages, the Inquisition. They are not looking at the golden age of Muslim Islam. Because if they would think about this, what you will see now, hopefully it will change their minds, because this is the beauty of Islam. This is the beauty of multicultural, you know, existence, and then you will hear that. It's okay. Knowledge is so crucial in Islam. It's very important, knowledge. And Muslims are supposed to, or everyone's supposed to go and seek knowledge as far as China. There's a saying in Arabic. Now, China was very far away at that time. And from Arabia to China now, there's maybe 12-hour flights. But at that time, it's like 2 years. So you have to seek, 2 years by camel, yeah. By probably a few years on foot, yeah. So you have to seek knowledge as far as you can. And you teach me something, I will be slave for you all my life. Teaching is, and knowledge is so crucial in the Muslim world, yeah. And it's still, unfortunately, you know, it is still the case, but it's unfortunately people forgot about all of this. What's happening now, it's going back to dark areas, yeah. And the thing that mentioned, that's, by the way, that's just excerpts from like 5-hour series from PBS called Empire of Faith. You can find it online. It's a huge documentary. So I had to put it together from different places on that DVD. So I have to be careful not to show too much, because that's, even though we have the public rights at McDaniel, I can show the movie there, we paid for it. But I think for educational reasons I can do that. Yeah. So anyway, so it is, keep in mind that that kind of civilization was not monolithic. It's not only Muslims who were there. There were Christians, Jews, Hindus, anyone. They will not ask, what is your creed? What is your religion? And so actually in Baghdad, they allowed, you know, the building of churches and of synagogues for all these people. And the Christian and the Jewish communities in the Muslim world were thriving for many centuries. Of course, there were periods where there were bad times, like any period of time in history. Until recently, because of political reasons, the Jewish communities in the Muslim world were really thriving. Yemen, Morocco still, in Egypt, in Iraq, these are huge places. The same thing with Christian minorities. Yeah, there's still huge, big groups of Christian minorities, like the Coptic in Egypt. The Coptic, they believe, or they claim they are the original Christians. Because why? Mary took her baby and went to Egypt. And they believe that they are the ones who created. But it doesn't matter. The Armenians believe the same thing. It's okay. The Greek Orthodox, but that's okay. But the fact is that there's a Coptic religion existing in Egypt for 1400 years. It must say something. Problems? Absolutely. There were problems over the time. Bad rulers, brutal rulers? Yes. Who didn't have them? Who didn't have them? We had segregation. We had slavery. It's the same constitution, folks. The constitution didn't change, but it was okay to have slaves. Now it's not okay. It was okay to segregate. Now it's not okay. It's the same constitution. Just the people are different. And that, keep in mind, that is, and it's really, I speaking from my own heart, it is at the heart of Islam to accept the other religions. Of course, there are limits for that. There are certain religions will not be accepted because of what they believe in and so on. But I'm not going to go into this because that gets a little bit complicated. But Christians and Jews thrived really in the Muslim countries through the golden ages. Now, after the Reconquista from Spain, there was not a single Muslim and Jew left in Spain. Not a single one. Not a single synagogue. Not a single mosque. Why? Because of the experience that Christians had there all these years, and they said, now it's time that we take over. So they were all kicked out, or they had to convert. But there was also good times. A Christian ruler who believed in this, and he created a house of translators during the time of the Reconquista. Reconquista took a couple of 100 years. And he created a house of translators who will translate all these things from Arabic back into Latin. That is the idea behind how this contributed towards civilization. The Arabs means the Arabic language, those who spoke Arabic language, not necessarily what nowadays we understand the Arabs. They translated the old ones into Arabic for 1400, for 1200 years, and then that school in Madrid retranslated them back into Latin. And this is the reason why we have Aristotle now, and Plato, and so on. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons. Yeah. Okay, I'm almost done. Hope for the future. That's very important. It's very important to respect the beliefs of others. People are people. People do bad things. Rulers do bad things. Government do bad things, of course. But that is my dad will never. I always quote my dad because he's not a very religious person, but he's very wise. He had only 2 years of education, but he knows so much. He speaks better Hebrew than I do. And I had 12 years of education, and then college and high school, and all of that stuff. But he really, he takes Islam. He says Islam is the way I treat you, the way you treat me. It's exactly like Ira. The way I want to be treated, I'm going to treat you, or better even. There's no compulsion in religion, absolutely none. My dad never forced my sisters to wear the hijab, never. Never asked them to wear, not even my mom, his wife, that according to the traditions, he has the right to ask her to wear the headscarf. But according to the religion, no compulsion. It's up to her to decide. If she decides she wants to wear it, that's fine. If not, it's her decision. She's the one who is going to be punished by God, not me. Who am I to tell her what to do according to the religion? So their compulsion, I can talk to her. We can talk to that. The same thing she can talk to me. If I'm misbehaving, absolutely. Say, hey, you are not behaving right. You should change your behavior. So it's very important to keep this in mind, that we are giving the freedom of religion by God. We live in the United States, so there's absolutely no problem, and you can believe in whatever you want. Nobody is going to come and cut off your head. But in other places of the world, unfortunately, and now it's mainly in the Muslim world, especially in Iraq and Syria, for all different kinds of reasons, no justification for that, this is being lost. And all of that thing we talked about. You might be surprised to know, and this is the beauty of interfaith, the beauty of intercultural and interfaith trust, that the keys to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre has been in the hands of a Muslim family for 1400 years. Has nothing to do with that Muslims ruled the area for so many years. No, because the Christian could not agree among themselves, the group, who is going to open and close the church. Are these the Greek Orthodox, the Coptic, the Armenians, maybe the Catholic for a period of time when they were ruling the whole area, yeah? And they decided we are going to give it to a Muslim family. And for 1400 years, a Muslim, if you watch the Jerusalem, if you watch the Jerusalem episode by Eaton, by Sacred Journeys, the family is so proud, and they showed all of this, and they show you the key. And it's very interesting how to open the church. I really encourage you to look at that episode about Jerusalem, Sacred Journeys. They do show that. And I was so happy when Leo Eaton, I helped him translate some of the stuff from Arabic into English. And when he showed me, I said, wow, that's wonderful. It's good to have it there. Because that's so crucial to keep that in mind. It's a spark. It's a light. And a lot of people are not seeing this light at the end of the tunnel. We are only seeing the darkness at the beginning of the tunnel. Yeah. This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And this is the gate that really, it's very, very elaborate how you lock it. And you can only open it by someone doing something inside and you doing something from the outside. It has to be a cooperation. You cannot, those who are inside cannot open it from inside alone. Those on the outside cannot open, unless they burn it and because it's wood. And this is their idea. The Christians are inside, the Muslim family are outside, helping each other to open it. You should watch it on the video by Leo Eaton. Yeah. So Martin Luther King said one time, it's only when it's very, very dark that we can see the stars. And I unfortunately, I have to say, it's apparently or unfortunately, it's not dark enough in the Arab and Muslim world. Nobody is seeing the stars yet. So it probably takes a couple of years until it's really completely dark, that people can see the stars and the light at the end of the tunnel. And there are a lot of reasons for that. There are internal reasons from outside, people who are trying to divide and conquer, but also there are groups there, in my judgment, very, very bad group, anti-Muslim Muslims, who are not adhering to the Muslim teaching and the Muslim way of that we're seeing things. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. And any questions? Well, Pam is in charge. Yeah. So I'm going to follow what Pam is saying. You hand these to me. Well, you guys are curious. I like that. Well, it's my mistake. Questions unite. I said, well, Ira, so let's blame it on Ira. Yeah. Oh, I like this. I like the first one. Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I just answered that other one. Well, okay, the first one, I really like the first one very fast. What is the role of dance in Islam? Unfortunately, I stopped the movie, the one about the contribution. At the end of the movie, there is a segment about the whirling dervishes, the Sufis, and dance is so crucial for them, the music and dance. And Sufis are not all accepted in every single part of the Muslim world. And Muslims think they are, outcasts, they are, crazy, but they're absolutely not. They're actually the purest of the pure, if you want, because they're trying to be one with God. They would like to annihilate their soul, their self, not soul, their self, so they can become one with God. And that's not easy to achieve. And dance is very important for them. That is the whirling, what we call whirling. They don't. That's actually going around and around and around. It's a meditation. It's a kind of meditation. It's not a dance. In weddings, in the religion itself, in the prayer, absolutely none. The prayer is very solemn. You are there to concentrate on that. Nothing should distract you except the voice of the imam who is reciting the Quran. So you should be there, try to, meet, your creator as good as possible. So there's no dance, no music. The only thing is the call for prayer and the recitation of the Quran. How can we find an end for the dark ages? Education, patience. Let them go through it. I think they have to go through that. But unfortunately, it's not only from within. There are forces from outside benefiting from that. Who's supplying the weapons to all these guys? Where do they get the weapons from? Where do they get money from? There are countries and people and groups benefiting from that. Just keep that in mind. It is not. If there are no weapons, it will start. But it will be a temporary thing. So education, not only here but there within the Muslim world, we need more people who really can educate, but staying within the framework of Muslim teachings. It's not easy to change. Well, everyone says democracy is a solution. No. Which democracy are you talking about? Which country, which democracy? Do we have a perfect democracy? It's not the democracy that is the solution here. It is the liberal thinking, the acceptance of the others. But unfortunately, we are losing that in this country. All you need to do is think about Washington. What's going on. It used not to be 20 years ago when Ronald Reagan was in power here and the House Speaker, they were not buddies, but they came together to solve problems. Nowadays, division everywhere. And it takes time. Education is, in my judgment, the key. And education must come from within. And I know our people don't agree with me. I think the solution for Islam will have to come from outside. That means from the Muslims who are living in the exile. This is exactly what happened. Muhammad had to immigrate. The immigration helped create the Muslim community. They have to go to Abyssinia. So those who are living outside of the Muslim world, those who are living outside of major Muslim countries that are ruled by Muslim rulers, they, in my judgment, are the hope. And we have really wonderful, wonderful scholars, wonderful thinkers, Muslim thinkers who are living in Europe and in the United States. Writers, we have a writer among us. You will meet her after lunch. People who write books for children, for adults, who make movies. Nowadays, movies, is something that you can reach. Movies that really can show the good parts, that the people will see it, especially young people, and don't see destruction and killing, but seeing something how they can build and not destroy. So it's a tough question, but are the Taliban's Muslims? Yeah, they are. They're bad Muslims, yeah. They are bad Muslims, they're bad Christians, bad Jews, Taliban is actually a group of students who were studying in Pakistan, and they got, it means students in Pashto, or in Urdu, in Arabic also Talib is a student. And they actually, during the time of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan and the time of godless Afghanistan, this is what they call it, they many went and studied in Pakistan. Pakistan is well known for their wonderful universities, really very good education system. It's still the case, yeah. And they went and studied there, and they encountered a couple of Muslim thinkers who thought the only way to change Afghanistan, to get back the country from the Soviets, through jihad. And this is where the idea of the mujahideen came, that for the Soviets, that we supported them, we armed them. We, the United States and the Western Europe, we did arm them. They were our friends because they were the enemies of our enemies. We did directly give them weapons and money, the Mujahideen at that time. So after the overthrow of the withdrawal of the forces from Afghanistan, the Taliban had to fill a vacuum, and this is when they came to power. And so they are Muslims. Not all of them are bad. Not all of them are radical. But they have clerics who are really, really radical, who want to bring back the Muslim state, similar to the one to the time of Muhammad. They forget that we are in the 21st century, even though it was perfect at that time, but the world changed. So you cannot just think you can bring it back. You have to adjust, and that is within the spirit of Islam. You have to adjust. You don't have to change the Quran, but adjust your interpretation of the Quran. And you can. Oh, there are people like, we had the Renaissance started in Egypt, Al-Nahda. And there's Muhammad Abdu, is a Muslim scholar who was famous, who really started the Renaissance. And there are scholars in Europe who say, well, absolutely, we can bring elements from democracy and Islam together, and new interpretation of certain things. There are some work out there. What do they not follow the Muslim rules? Good question. Because they have a radical interpretation of the Islam. They are literalist. Like all other religions, you have people who read the Quran and take it word for word. They take it out of context. I wish we had time. I'll give you a lecture about jihad and the meaning of jihad and the violence, where it's coming from, but that would be a different story, really. Well, it takes a really long time, and give you the quotes from the Quran out of context, and you will hate Islam, you see that. I am Muslim, say, wow, what a horrible religion. But if I give you the context, now I understand that. The same thing in the Bible and the Torah. In the Torah, there's a verse, you have to bathe in the blood of the wicked. Now, okay, who are the wicked? The Goyims, yeah, anyone who's not Jewish. But hello, I'm taking that out of context. You have to read the whole thing, and then you figure out, oh, this is what it means. You can do that, and people have done it in the name of religion, yeah. So, because they interpret the Quran word for word. Let me move on. One God. Does the concept of the Trinity confirm? Well, the Trinity is one. In the Trinity, you have oneness. Yeah, that's the way I understand this, the way Ira and others explain that to me. In the Trinity, there's oneness, and there's still the notion of one God, yes. The Trinity is not very well understood by Muslims. Not many Muslims know enough, or Christians. Yeah, but that's fine. But if you look at Arab Christians who were there before Islam, actually they are monophysites. That means they believe that Jesus is one, only one, divine. And when they do the cross themselves, they do it with one finger, or the three fingers together, one finger actually, like this, they do it. And that's interesting. They were persecuted by the Roman Catholic because of this, because they say you are the infidels. When the first crusade went to Jerusalem, and blood was flowing, was not only Muslim blood, Muslims, Jews, and Christians, because they thought, yeah, you are, you don't believe in the Trinity, yeah. But the Trinity is one, the way I understand it, through the love of God, yeah. What differences cause such hatred between Shiite and Sunnis? Another topic, yeah. The hatred now, it is political, and it's about power. But to understand the difference, the rift is more about who was supposed to follow Muhammad, the ruler. And there were two opinions, either from the bloodline of Muhammad, from his daughter and his son-in-law, or through elections. Someone who is really fit to run the community, who will be replacing Muhammad as a political leader, but not as a religious leader. Yeah? And there were two opinions. A majority opinion said, no, it should not be from the bloodline, because Muhammad never said anything. The Quran is very clear about it. And the other group said it should stay in the house of the Prophet. Now, the house of the Prophet is very important for both, But the majority decided it's going to be this. And this is what they call the Sunni, the way of the Prophet. And the other ones, they were the Shiite, that is the party of Ali. So they said Ali should be the successor. But Ali was the son-in-law of Muhammad. Ali accepted the rule of the majority, and he did not object to that. But his group, the Shiite, did not. And they fought against it for a long time. They assassinated a couple of the Muslim leaders at that time, actually two of them. Ali himself was assassinated by his own group because he was not radical enough for them. So that is the idea, the successor. From the belief, it's almost the same. Except I always say, and I hope I don't have any Shias brothers and sisters here who don't misunderstand me. The Shias are always Sunnis plus one. They have always something extra. I'm not saying that in a negative way. Actually, some of the things I wish the Sunnis would have. They love the house of the Prophet a lot. They go to one of their graves and where Hussein is buried. They grieve. They really cry. But it is coming from the heart. Yeah. For instance, the Quran. the recitation of the Quran, it's a very interesting difference. The Sunnis, anyone can recite the Quran who knows the Quran by heart. In the Shiite, to recite the Quran in the mosque, you have to be one of the enlightened, one who really have been chosen by the leader. In the Sunni, no, anyone. Anyone can lead the prayer who knows how to recite the Quran. Women have led the prayer before. For women, but also for other groups in New York a couple of years ago, yeah. So the hatred is more political and more about who's supposed to control what. And again, unfortunately, Iran plays an important role. Iran has huge ambitions. Yemen, it's a huge chaos there. But not only Iran gives weapons to the Shiite, but also United States and Saudi Arabia and other ones give weapons to the other side, you know. So that is, but the head, you know, I tell you the truth, I have never thought about Shiites and Sunnis until after the Gulf War 2003, when the whole issue started. But the reason why, because I belong to the majority, and majorities are not, we don't occupy ourselves with identity. We don't ask about that because we rule. But there were no Shiites where I live. But if there were Shiites, I would reach out to them, like I reached out to Jewish people. Well, it's time to stop. Well, maybe we can answer the other questions in the panel discussion. I have other people who can do that.
I saw a couple of hands that folks who did, and I just wanted to give people a chance. I saw some hands back there, questions.
Someone wrote in German, die Fragen, the questions.
Okay, anybody
Yeah.
have a question that wasn't written down?
I did.
Yes, you did. We'll let one question from the.
Okay, and then I will give these questions to the panel, and they will probably.
It's written in like dark ink. It's written in dark ink of pen on the paper.
I'm sorry?
On the paper.
You wrote it on my paper. Okay, we will answer that. Yeah, but if you have a question that you didn't write, then maybe we can take one, and then we have a break, and then we have still the panel discussion that is 45 minutes, and then there some of the questions. And
Okay. It sounded like they were talking about women being equal, but it also, you referred to them being separate. I mean, are they kept separated during worship? And
Yeah.
how do they, is that culture or is that?
no, it's in the religion. It's the way Muslims pray, and you have just to see it. It is very. That's one of the reasons. It's very difficult for women to pray in front of men because they don't feel comfortable with that. The way we prostrate and all of that. So one thing. The other thing, there is a separation of sexes in prayer, unless it's your family. When you pray with your family, you do that. That's not a problem. Yeah. That is. It is ordained. It is required separation. Usually, women have the second floor or a separate room. Or if they're one single room, then it's behind the men, then and there's a barrier. But as soon as it's over, you know, it depends on the community. Some communities are more progressive than others. Ours, as soon as the prayer is over, we get together, and it's just during the prayer that the separation. Yeah, the same thing in Judaism. In a lot of Jewish groups, also in certain Christian groups. All the communities, absolutely, there is separation, either by woman, men. So, or you know, they will be sitting separately. Yeah, but it has nothing to do with equality in this case. It has something to do with, you know, just the religious practice and belief and being comfortable with that. Yeah. The inequality that you hear about in Muslim countries, it actually stems from the culture more than from religion. Like my dad actually loves my sisters more than he loves us. He does for them more. Well, he loves us as well, but for him, his daughters are more equal to him than we. When he divided the inheritance, they all got equal amount like us, because he was not trying to break the rule. The Quranic rule, but you can do it. The thing is that the idea, this is what a lot of people bring up, and I have always explained that. The rule is that the women are guaranteed an inheritance. Before that, women were guaranteed nothing. They were sold and bought. You know, women in Europe, when did they start inheriting? Until the 19th century, they didn't have any rights all the way. But here, women having rights, and at least they have it's not ideal, but at least they have the right to inherit half the amount of a meal. Because the woman goes away, marries someone from a different tribe, and then to keep that tribe strong, you have to keep the inheritance within the family. But my dad divided everything equal. He did not violate, the rule. He just said, I'll give my daughters a little bit more. I'll give you guys double, but I'll give my daughters a little bit more. And that's fine. I was okay. It's not much. We're not talking about it. It was like 50 square meters of land. And what do you do with 50 square meters? Nothing. It's not, actually I had to buy some from my sisters. I don't know what to do with them. There are olive trees in them. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much. Yeah.